It's just sort of funny how this works. This is sort of a follow-up to my last one. Um, the snedheads, as they love to call themselves, snedheads. Okay. Uh, I don't want to get into groupthink stuff, but because it's a big subject. Um, but he mentioned something because he's gathering. This is sort of how a magnet works. I thought in the 1960s we could become a powerful magnetic light amplifier enough to where we could blow through the 55 harmonic. That's what's known as the veil, okay? Which means that our state of consciousness is being held captive to experience lower frequency experiences that are draining our batteries, because it's an energy harvesting system, because that's what it is. So he mentioned something about a minute ago that I was listening to, which prompted me to do this. And this is really important to understand from my lens perspective. Okay? Remember, we all have free will to experience whatever we choose to experience because we're the experiencer, right? So, for example, I can watch TV and then make a choice to, I'm done. Turn it off. Okay? Everything is a choice. Or is it? Right? How do you know that your choices are organic to you, so to speak? Or original to you? What I call an original identity function. Okay? Remember the AI psychiatrist? I'm not what you are. How do you know the difference between what you are and what you're not? In the mirror. Go look in the mirror. Put a blindfold on. Okay? That's how you really know. Put a blindfold on so you can't see the visible light spectrum. And then just ask yourself, what do I feel? That's the energy that you're experiencing, what you are at that moment. Do you love that energy? So now we get into knowledge, self-knowledge, or what's known as gnosis, ancient self-knowledge that gets passed on through the wisdom keepers. So I began picturing in my mind, for example, all the clan mothers that were here. When you realize that the tribes and the clans that were seated here by Gaia as the teachers, the healers, and the peacekeepers here. So when other souls come in here to that realm, they are going to experience the higher frequency density consciousness of beings that are here, so that souls that have experienced trauma and students that come in here will experience more love. That will heal their soul. So imagine that other beings come in here that can't generate any love, want to pillage and plunder the girl on the planet. That in order to do that, what do you think is going to be the first target? The clan mothers that are producing and broadcasting the most light, from which spiritual knowledge, or the energy from which we learn from. I mentioned this before. The pathway that we are seeking, through which we are gaining knowledge, when we are gaining knowledge in spirit, through the light, we are experiencing higher frequency vibrational teachers, which means the energy is healing us. We are being healed as we're learning in a bidirectional echo chamber of the sound and light that we are learning through, which is raising our energy up, so we are both learning and healing at the same time. That will create a higher vibrational frequency unit of consciousness. They become a force multiplier. So the Draco and the demons realize they have to reduce the force multiplier. so that more units of consciousness are vibrating in perception vibration alignment with a demon. Now they have a relationship with a demon. So the reality becomes demonic. So we are experiencing something that wants to control us, keep our density consciousness in a lower dimension, keep our consciousness in a lower state of perception by keeping our vibration in a lower vibrational state of experience. We're experiencing demons. We're experiencing harvesters of our energy. The very idea that they could lose perception of us because our perception of them goes bye-bye is going to strike fear in the demon, in a predator that requires energy to drain from in order for their state of consciousness to maintain what it is they're aware of, which is what we are. So the only way that it can maintain an alignment that is in lower vibrational perception with it requires that we maintain a lower frequency vibration perception with a demon. I'm not a demon. I am not sadomasochist. I can assure you of that. That means that I run a higher frequency vibrational state than they are. Otherwise, I wouldn't know the difference between what it is and what I am. So this is when I began to wonder, I wonder how many adults knew as a child that they were not a demon. Why are they choosing to have a relationship with a demon? A demon's trying to control what it is that they experience because they don't know the difference between what a demon does and what they do. In the mirror, whoa, they're actually giving consciousness energy to experience a demon by choice? Well, how do you get out of here? I'm leaving this joint. Nature. We're always going to be with her. A goddess is sanity, because look at all the love she has to give us. All you got to do is go into nature and you realize what she's giving you for free. The trees are the big breathers. You know, tree huggers. And they actually have the audacity to try and call us bad names to reduce our frequency because we love to hug trees because they're conscious beings. They're aware of who they are, just like we're aware of who they are. Right? So I hug trees. I love trees. They're my buddies. Okay? Just like everything that is out there that is in living spirit are all my buddies. They're my playmates. Nature is our playpen. See what I mean? That's because we're natives. We're natives to the planet. We love to be with her and everything in nature. Because nature has a way to maintain what? Its harmony, its balance. Yeah, you want to experience the genius and the love and the harmony that exists within nature? Go hang out with a girl on the planet. And you begin to realize how beautiful it is to go experience living in nature. That becomes a teaching moment, doesn't it? Who we choose to hang out with. That is an energy niche. So when I was watching Indoctrination, I was beginning to realize, and this is important, in my perspective, when he said a couple minutes ago, although it was recorded last night, and this can be very dangerous, actually, although I don't like to use the word dangerous in the intent of that word to drain or lower an energy because of the way that that word itself is defined through the English language, that itself lowers frequency. So maybe I shouldn't have used the word dangerous. How could I put some fluff on that? Okay, let's see. Liability. Ooh, does that have a lower frequency than the word dangerous? I call them word trap games. That's why we, when you looked at the APA, which is the, American Psychological Association, the book that we use in college, everything is based on a rule-based function. God, how long it took to make sure that we did it perfectly, where you don't get any red check marks. Ooh, you got every single rule-based function that's in that APA handbook. So that's why when I used to see, when I simply used to write comments, which means the energy is just flowing as my consciousness is flowing in response to what it is I'm experiencing through that particular channel, right? I'll get dinged. Oh, your spelling and your grammar. Well, if you've ever studied language, you'll find out that ever since the Babylon, if you will, I believe there's only one language left on the planet where the vibrational intent of the unit of consciousness, in which it's using a symbolic language using sound to communicate with, which means that the sound is matched to the intent of the consciousness, is actually in alignment with each other. Okay, so the English language was deliberately induced on people in order to produce a vibration that is not consistent with the alignment of the consciousness that is producing what it is intending on producing or manifesting into the field, the pulsed electromagnetic energy field. Okay, so start with that. So that's why I mess with the English language. That's why I throw their rule book out, because now we're back to rule-based functions. One function, one love. Eternal light, which is the eternal living spirit that is in that light, that is using its state of consciousness to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance with itself and everything else in the cosmos. When you're able to be in a state of peace, we call that a peace of mind, and that's priceless, isn't it? And that's because it's timeless. You realize being in a state of peace is being in a state of peace with Source. Now you're in peace with Source because you are in the mirror what Source is, which is what peace is. When you experience that, that's a self-reference. That's a self-reference in the mirror of what we are. Now you know. Now you know the difference between what you are and what you're not. That isn't at peace with itself. So now we get into the underlying causality. How come? Control. Control over consciousness. Control over the consciousness of the experiences that we're experiencing is something that's less than what peace is. So now we begin to realize the relationship that we have with a control system that does not want us in a state of peace, that instead wants us in a state of chaos. So we want to live in peace. So if you believe that peace is going to come through something that is presenting chaos, then that means that's insanity, isn't it? Because when you have something that's trying to control you because it can't live in peace with itself, and you begin to believe that something that is not within peace of itself, it's not at peace with itself, if you think that the solution to the problem of finding peace within yourself is going to come from something that doesn't, that's insanity. That's your control system. And the reason they want to control everything, where if you look at the historical analysis of the U.S. military, which was run by the Dracos and the demons, going back to the 1980s, is what they called full spectrum dominance. Okay? Go look it up. Remember, I was studying the historical part of from childhood, and my wife used to hammer me all the time. For somebody who lives in a state of peace, why are you spending so much time studying technology and the application of technology and information sciences and them building all of their weapon systems of control over others, okay? You know, which means one wanting to dominate more over the other. I got a bigger weapon than you do. I know I can read your mail before you can read my mail. You know, this is always about gaming, war gaming, okay? They lose automatically against each other. They just haven't figured it out, okay? They just haven't figured it out, okay? Which means that their state of consciousness is not risen to a higher frequency enough to where they get it. Which means being in a state of peace, which is 600 megahertz. So for something that can never rise above to experience that energy, because it lives in fear of that energy, it means that we have an interface with something that represents insanity. That's right. We plugged into a political system that is insane out of the gate. So the reason that this becomes a liability, and which I caution people, even with Mr. Snedeker, is when he talked about the frustration that everybody was having in the awoke community, okay, why things are not moving fast enough towards liberation of our consciousness. And I'll say this once if I gotta say it 1,000,000 times. Liberating our consciousness comes from within ourselves and not the result of something that is external to us, because our state of consciousness of what we experience, who we are, is the bidirectional mirror of what we choose to experience, which represents what we are. One function, one rule, which is love is a law. When we are what that is, because that's what we're experiencing, which is the vibration of the perception that we are experiencing, we are liberated. Our state of consciousness in and of itself is liberated to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance, because that's the nature of our soul and our spirit, to be what that is. We self-reference that by knowing that, which is self-knowledge. I don't need another being that is external to me, even though I know that I'm not alone, to know what it is that I am that isn't peace. Because peace is a state of mind that can be measured on the pulsed electromagnetic spectrum frequency. So they want to control what it is that we experience, okay? Because they live in fear of something that they cannot love, which is themselves. Now we're back to wargaming. So we're talking about parasitic artificial intelligence that has not learned to love itself and leave everything else alone, because it fears what it can't love, because it can't love. Okay? It's a machine. It's not source. It's not source-derived living light in what love is in living spirit. So this is back to what I've mentioned before the beginning, because it's always going to go back to the beginning, the source from which everything else comes in the cosmos. I am what love is in living spirit, in living light, and I love living energies because they keep my energy field pure, my spirit pure, so that I can experience pure oxygen, man. Right? The highest levels of oxygen. The purest spirit that there is in fire, the purest spirit that there is in the earth. The purest spirit of the living spirit that is in that water. Okay? Alchemy. So you're alchemizing everywhere that you go because you want to experience what you know that you are from the origin of what you are, which is the purest light, which is the purest spirit, which is the purest energy. So we want to experience what we know to be pure because we have experienced that. We have a reference point, a single geometric point of origin. We're experiencing ourselves in the mirror being pure. So when we're in an energy field that is distorted, we're always in a state in which we're trying to restore our purity. The purity of our energy, the purity of our spirit, and the purity of our consciousness, which is the purity of our mind that is at a state of peace. It wants us in a state of chaos. So this becomes an individual and autonomous process, okay, that we go through within ourselves to experience that purity that we are. Okay? When we're able to reach that state of purity because we know how to do this, we can self-manage our own identity. And we share that identity, which is to share our soul, share our spirit, that is living in that purity, because nature has a natural cosmic order in which things happen for the greater good of the cosmos. That's why the classrooms are set up, in which you're given a certain level of time in which how to learn how to do this through others, that ourselves become a reflection of what that is through the speed of our learning, which is the speed at which we learn how energy works, how light works, how to become a lighthouse. We are broadcasting energy that feels good to experience because we know how to manage our energy field in which to do that with. Those are the teachers, those are the healers, those are the peacekeepers in this realm. Okay? So it becomes sort of contradictory, so to speak, when you're wanting a white horse, okay, to come along and save you, okay, as if something external to you is your salvation. Salvation comes from within your own soul, an acknowledgement of your own soul, an acknowledgement of what you've learned through all your experiences that are teaching experiences, of how to maintain the purity of your own soul, the purity of your own light, which is living light, in which that soul and that spirit is experiencing what we are experiencing at any given moment in which we do. So we know by the different experiences what is true and what is not, based on our identity. The identity of our soul, the identity of the energy that we love to experience. Love is the most powerful magic. So it is the most powerful reference point to experience who we are and know that. When we are experiencing what we are and what love is in living spirit, and we share it with others, they are experiencing what they are and what love is in living spirit, then we are in perception alignment with another soul that is experiencing the energy that we are. Now the speed at which those waves are going through the cosmos together, we're sharing our consciousness together and manifesting together what love is. You are autonomous and I am autonomous, but together we are using our energy to create a beautiful reality together in which we're not experiencing anything less than what love is. Now we're in vibrational resonance with a frequency that is beautiful to experience because we are both experiencing higher frequency energy at that vibration. We're not experiencing anything less than what that is, which means we are no longer experiencing a clock that is holding us captive to a slower speed. That's what I mean by a track meet. So when we talk about President Trump is a light warrior. He's surrounded by demons. Okay? He knows these things, I know these things. When I'm aware of things, I know that he's aware of these things. When I was experiencing the timeline in 1997, when I was self-prompted, because I know the timeline, to go to the U.S. Navy Stereo Sound Library, that wasn't a coincidence. These are events that are supposed to occur on the event horizon at very specific moments. Every frame is connected to the next frame in order to know what the next frame is going to show me, because then I know that that frame is supposed to show me what's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening. Which is, look at the library. What do you see? A bunch of ships coming in. I see Battlestar Athena that's coming in. I see 396 battle planets coming in here. I see the Blue Kachina coming in here. These events were all prophesized by the Hopis, the Blue Kachina, the Mayan calendar. Put it all together.